They call themselves the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan and claim to stand for white pride. But what do KKK members really believe? Here are the disturbing interviews where real KKK members revealed what they actually think, starting with this man who proudly wore the hood and had no regrets. Number 10.
Don't put save the world on me. That's what got me in this insanity, man.
Charles Manson was a career criminal who became one of America's most infamous cult leaders. Born in 1934 in Cincinnati, Ohio, to a troubled young mother, he grew up in reform schools and prisons, moving in and out of the system until his early 30s. After he was released from prison in 1967, Manson drifted into San Francisco's counterculture scene. He styled himself as a spiritual guide and gathered a group of loyal followers, mostly young women, who would become known as the Manson family. In August 1969, under Manson's direction, members of his cult committed a series of heinous murders. On August 9th, they invaded the Los Angeles home of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and brutally murdered her, along with 4 others: Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent. The following night, the group killed Leno and Rosemary LaBianca in their home. These murders were part of Manson's deluded plan to incite a race war he referred to as Helter Skelter, a term he appropriated from a Beatles song. Manson believed this conflict would wipe out society, leaving his group to take over.
Remember you had an X years ago and you changed it now to a swastika?
No, I never changed. It's been the same thing all the way along.
Wasn't it always an X?
No, it never was.
What's it stand for?
It stands for whatever I mean it to stand for, and whatever I make it stand for, and whatever I want it to stand for.
But it didn't.
He was arrested later that year and convicted of multiple murders. In prison, Manson got a swastika on his head and still maintained his white supremacist beliefs. Despite everything, he still felt that the number of people he killed wasn't enough.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society something.
Though sentenced to death, his penalty was changed to life in prison. He spent the rest of his life behind bars and died in 2017 at the age of 83. Number 9. Jeremy Christian was a known white supremacist with ties to extremist groups. In April 2017, Christian attended a March for Free Speech rally organized by the far-right group Patriot Prayer. He was photographed wearing an American flag, carrying a baseball bat, and making Nazi salutes while shouting racial slurs. Months later, he boarded a MAX train in Portland and began yelling hateful slurs at 2 teenage girls, one black, the other wearing a hijab. The other passengers stepped in to stop him. Christian pulled out a knife. He stabbed and killed 2 men, Ricky Best, a 53-year-old Army veteran, and Talasin Namkai Meshe, a 23-year-old recent college graduate. A third man was also stabbed, but survived. Christian was arrested at the scene and charged with multiple counts, including 2 for murder. In court, he acted emotional and remorseful at first, but that changed when he lashed out at one of the girls he originally targeted, saying he wished she had died too.
Watch you here. All your race-baiting bullshit. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You fucking hoe. You fucking hoe. You fucking up my whole city. George Floyd. George Floyd. I should have killed you, bitch. I should have killed your bitch ass. Everybody knows you're a liar. Everybody knows you're a liar, huh?
The courtroom saw his true nature, and the judge gave him a life sentence with no chance of parole. Jeremy Christian will never walk free again. Number 8. Thomas Robb is a white supremacist and longtime leader of a rebranded Ku Klux Klan group. In 1989, he took control of the KKK and made changes to help it appear more acceptable to the public. He dropped the old title Imperial Wizard and called himself National Director. He renamed the group the Knights Party and started accepting new members by mail instead of through initiation ceremonies. He claimed these changes were to make the group seem peaceful, but in reality, Robb kept spreading hate. For instance, in a 2015 interview, Robb stated, "The Klan to me is just a tool to reach people. I feel that it gets the biggest bang for the buck." Rob has also publicly endorsed political figures who align with his views. In the 2016 presidential election, the KKK's official newspaper, The Crusader, expressed support for Donald Trump. Rob justified this endorsement by highlighting Trump's campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again," suggesting it resonated with his organization's goals.
There's nothing about your message that's mainstream, is there?
Well, look at those who voted for Donald Trump in 2016.
During a 2017 Sky News interview at his home, he described the Klan as friendly, but still used language full of anti-Semitic and racist views. He attacked the Black Lives Matter movement and spoke about preserving Confederate symbols.
I don't care. I'm not trying to make the Klan the biggest club, if you want to use that phrase, in the country.
How do you feel about African Americans?
I think they have a right to be African Americans, the same way I have a right to be white.
Gay people?
I think gay people is an abomination.
Hispanics?
Same as blacks, same answer.
His family also joined the cause. His daughter and granddaughters formed a white nationalist music group. And in his Arkansas church, Rob preached racism from the pulpit, using religion to push his agenda. Number 7. Edgar Ray Killen was a sawmill worker and part-time preacher from Mississippi. He was also a high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan. He served as a Kleagle, or recruiter, for the Neshoba and Lauderdale County chapters of the Ku Klux Klan. In 1964, Killen helped organize the murder of 3 civil rights workers, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, during what became known as Freedom Summer. The men were abducted and killed by a group of Klansmen that Killen helped assemble.
In June 1964. The murder was one of the most shocking and galvanizing moments of the U.S. civil rights movement.
Killen was arrested shortly after the murders, but walked free when an all-white jury failed to convict him. For decades, he lived undisturbed while the victims' families searched for justice. In 2005, over 40 years later, Killen was finally brought back to court, this time with new evidence and a more diverse jury. He was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 60 years.
The state's Department of Corrections said Killen died Thursday. He was serving a 60-year sentence.
Behind bars, he wrote letters confessing to dozens of killings and disturbing acts. He died in prison on January 11, 2018, just 6 days before turning 93. Number 6. Christopher Barker was the Imperial Wizard of the Loyal White Knights, a branch of the Ku Klux Klan.
Are you a hate group? No. How do you define yourself?
We define ourselves as a
I don't
Christian
hate
group.
anyone.
Yeah, I don't hate anyone.
In 2017, he agreed to a televised interview with Univision. He was told the interviewer would be a Hispanic woman, but things turned hostile when Alay Calderon, a black journalist, arrived at his property. Barker and his wife were visibly angry. She was the first black person to step foot there in over 2 decades. From the start, Barker heard racial slurs and threats. At one point, he told Calderon they'd burn her out of the country. When she asked if they'd accept a life-saving organ from her, Barker claimed their blood wasn't the same. Barker referred to Calderon as a mongrel and threatened to burn her, stating, "We killed 6 million Jews the last time. 11 million is nothing." News spread fast. Some applauded Calderon's bravery. Others questioned whether it put her in unnecessary danger. Either way, it exposed the Klan's reality. Number 5. Born on November 27, 1940, Frazier Glenn Miller was involved in various racist organizations, including the Ku Klux Klan and the White Patriot Party. Miller was known for his extremist anti-Semitic and racist beliefs, which he openly expressed in interviews and writings. He was a former Army veteran from North Carolina. He served 2 tours in Vietnam before becoming deeply involved in white supremacist groups.
For nearly 40 years, the suspect, Frazier Glenn Miller, has pursued an agenda of intolerance and racism.
In 2014, he carried out a deadly shooting at a Jewish community center in Kansas. He killed 3 people, none of whom were Jewish. His goal was to start a race war, but this wasn't his first violent act. Decades earlier, he tried to launch a mass attack, but authorities caught him with explosives and guns.
Shooting and killing Dr. William Corcoran and his grandson Reed Underwood at the Jewish Community Center a year ago, April.
He was sentenced to 5 years, but later worked with the FBI as an informant. After prison, other white supremacists rejected him. he tried to win back their respect by committing the Kansas shooting.
That I had no criminal intent. I had a patriotic intent to stop the genocide against my people.
He was arrested, charged with capital murder, and sentenced to death. He never made it to the execution chamber. On May 3, 2021, at the age of 80, Frazier Glenn Miller died in prison while waiting on death row. Number 4. Dylan Roof was a 21-year-old high school dropout with a history of drug arrests and a growing obsession with white supremacist beliefs. On June 17, 2015, he walked into an Emmanuel AME church in Charleston and sat through an hour-long Bible study with a group of black churchgoers. When the session ended, he pulled out a .45 caliber handgun and opened fire. He reloaded multiple times and shot 9 people dead. One woman survived by pretending to be dead. Roof later said he wanted to start a race war.
Surveillance video shows lambs leading themselves to slaughter. Mother Emanuel parishioners arriving for Bible study in June of 2015. In walked Dylan Roof. His fanny pack carried a .45 Glock pistol and 7 magazines loaded with hollow point bullets. The agent later asked, "Why did you do it?" Roof said, "I had to do it because somebody had to. Blacks are raping and killing white people on the streets every day. What I did is still minuscule to what they're doing to white people every day." Then he cautiously left the church. His right hand still held the pistol.
After the shooting, he fled the scene, but was caught the next day during a traffic stop. In court, Roof showed no remorse. He represented himself, told jurors he had no mental illness, and admitted to the killings.
Went to that church in Charleston, and I did it.
Later, a video recording of Roof's confession to FBI agents was released, providing insight into his motivations and beliefs. In the video, Roof admits to shooting and expresses his white supremacist views, including his admiration for Adolf Hitler and his belief in the superiority of the white race.
Consider yourself a neo-Nazi then?
No, because you know, I think to be considered a neo-Nazi, you got to be part of a real movement or something. You see?
Do you disagree with what Hitler did? Do you support Adolf Hitler? Because you're saying Hail Hitler in that statement there.
Right. No, I support Hitler. And where was this?
In January 2017, he was sentenced to death. He's now on federal death row in Indiana, awaiting execution. The first person in US history to receive the death penalty for a federal hate crime. Number 3. David Duke was born in 1950 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He grew up in a troubled home with an absent father and a mother battling addiction. Bullied at school, he found comfort in extremist ideas early on. By 14, Duke was attending white supremacist meetings. In college, he openly praised Nazi figures and hung racist posters in his dorm. By 1974, he'd taken things further, forming his own version of the Ku Klux Klan and calling it the Knights. His goal was to make the group more appealing, even welcoming women and teenagers.
What does today represent to you? And the camera's right here. What does today represent to you?
How you doing? This represents a turning point for the people of this country. We are determined to take our country back. We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump. That's what we believed in. That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he's going to take our country back.
But his time as Klan leader ended after accusations of stealing money. He stepped down, cleaned up his image, and entered politics. He ran as a conservative, distancing himself from his past. Some believe he changed, others say he simply put on a suit. Either way, David Duke managed to rebrand himself, but the shadow of who he once was never fully disappeared. Number 2. Joseph Paul Franklin was a white supremacist and serial killer from Alabama. He grew up in a violent home and joined hate groups like the KKK early in life. His birth name was Bourne James Clayton Vaughan Jr., but he adopted the name Joseph Paul Franklin in homage to Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels and Benjamin Franklin.
I just, the only thing I can say is I did do it.
And can you also tell me why you did it?
I was trying to get rid of all the ugly people in the world.
Okay.
And
did you
I
select?
consider the blacks the ugliest people of all.
In the late 1970s, Franklin went on a killing spree across the US, targeting black people, Jewish communities, and interracial couples. He planted bombs, fired from overpasses, and stalked victims at bus stops. In one case, he firebombed a synagogue. In another, he gunned down 2 black teenagers for simply walking by. In 1980, his attacks had killed at least 22 people. Notably, he attempted to assassinate civil rights leader Vernon Jordan and publisher Larry Flynt, leaving Flynt paralyzed.
Crippling him in 1977 for portraying black men with white women in his magazine. Franklin also said he shot Vernon Jordan, the president of the National Urban League, in May of 1980.
Franklin was finally caught in Kentucky after years on the run. He was found guilty and sentenced to death, but his execution didn't happen right away. It took over 30 years before the state carried it out. On November 30th, 2013, Franklin was executed by lethal injection. Witnesses say he didn't flinch. No last words, no emotion, just a blink, a breath, and then silence. Number 1. Bill Wilkinson was once a powerful figure in one of America's most notorious hate groups. In 1975, he founded a branch of the Ku Klux Klan in Louisiana and became its leader, known as the Imperial Wizard. Under his control, the Klan grew louder and more dangerous. He led rallies across the country, encouraging members to show up armed and ready for violence. He even created training camps to prepare for a so-called race war, teaching Klan members how to fight.
This is the most militant Klan organization in the country, the Invisible Empire Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And it is the biggest. Gone are the pretenders to the throne. David Duke has quit the Klan. Robert Shelton of Alabama only has a small following, we are told. And James Venable of Stone Mountain, Georgia? Well, Imperial Wizard Bill Wilkinson of Denham Springs, Louisiana, the leader who is unifying the fragmented groups under one banner, has this to say about him.
He didn't just target adults. Wilkinson also launched programs to pull children into the group. His aim was to grow the hate from the ground up. He mentioned in an interview how his Klan works.
Well, I know you're in Ringgold. Where else are you? Augusta, Columbus, Macon area, Atlanta. You do have a clavern in Atlanta?
But after years of spreading fear, Wilkinson vanished. No one knew where he went. Then, in 2015, he was found living in Belize, quietly surrounded by the very people he once hated. A man who once preached racial separation now lives among those he claimed to reject. That was 10 shocking interviews with KKK members. Do you think anyone could ever perceive the KKK as a peaceful group? What do you think of those who reformed? Are they pretending, or is it real? Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to not miss any more shocking videos like this.